A ton.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. Just logistically, if I were going to go
Negative?
No.
very fair. Like I get maybe leaving at night.
Yeah. That's
Saturday, but it's there for
that's anything that seems like was.
yeah.
But thank you for being so fair.
Oh, hi. Good, that's perfect. What did I hear?
Aqui faz essas conferências de imprensa e a secretária de imprensa normalmente fica neste podium. Vão poder ver.
This looks so much better.
Esta é uma sala super
Yeah. So
pequenina, mas
the
dá
mic
para
is
todo
on.
mundo. Aqui vem vou mostrar, depois vai
Yeah,
para
much better.
por ali. Esta normalmente a fazer os ensaios, porque já é mesmo uma conferência de imprensa. E eu vou continuar a mostrar como é que normalmente esta sala
To be honest, this piece great because the other part is like the same. Yeah. Typically don't. Maybe a couple weeks. Thanks. Yeah.
Not that my vote matters, but
You don't outrank Tara, but yeah.
I think it's fine. Let's try it out.
Very. The grammar's on it. Yes. To answer your question,
Yes.
no. I need free to fuck it all.
I have,
You can tell that's happened to me.
Nate, could we just do one?
Yeah.
Is that fine?
Hmm?
It's like quick, yeah? Yeah. Let's take that one away. Yeah, thank you. Oh.
I will say, there is a singular now, because it's non-gender.
There we go.
But her thing was that sentence.
Sure, but it was right, because it went singular for it, but they were, instead of being able to say his and her, you can now say their. We're moving forward, we're progressing.
Also,
Next time it's
hi, this is Brian.
Look at all these beautiful faces and no masks. Just love it. I love it.
Yeah, but those are shiny. Like 230 all the way to 236 on there.
I gotta get this. First time in a year with no masks, or almost.
Yeah.
double vax, you don't need a mask.
Damn, Saint. It's cold-blooded. It's tough, man. Yeesh.
We gotta keep them in line there. It'll be 2 hours before we get the thing down. No, nice, that was a nice shot. You got him, you were out there.
Yeah, I was coming in.
Don't get excited yet. Thank you.
Inflation expectation. That's transitory.
was Irish. Yeah, thanks.
Hi, everyone. Happy Friday. All right. So today we have another special guest. It's quite a week with special guests. Our 7th of the week. Chair of the Council of Economic Advisors, Cecilia Rouse, a member of the President's Family's Cabinet. This is not her first time in the briefing room, but as a quick introduction, she is a renowned labor economist who recently served as Dean of the Princeton School of Public and International Affairs. She previously served as a member of the Council of Economic Advisors in the Obama-Biden administration. I had the pleasure of working with her, and on the National Economic Council in the Clinton administration. She's the first African American and just the 4th woman to lead the CEA in the 74 years of its existence. She has a very busy day, as we all do. A lot going on here, but she'll take just a couple questions when she wraps up. And I'm so happy I don't have to put my mask back on. Okay, come on over.
Great, thank you. Okay. Hello. So this past year we've been living through a once in 100 years pandemic, or at least that's what we certainly hope. The speed with which we powered down the economy was unprecedented, and while we have suffered and lost much over the past year, the efficiency and speed with which we have rolled out the vaccinations, even surpassing President Biden's own initial and I might say ambitious goals, has meant that the United States has made tremendous progress at curbing the virus. As a result, we are in the midst of restarting this economy in earnest, and we are making good progress in doing so. However, we must keep in mind that an economy will not heal instantaneously. It takes several weeks for people to get full immunity from vaccinations, and even more time for those left jobless from the pandemic to find and start a suitable job. Supply chains have been disrupted, and sectors that were hardest hit are just beginning to come back. I will also note that given the extraordinary and unprecedented circumstances of the pandemic, it will remain difficult for analysts to accurately forecast economic data until we have more fully recovered. For example, in just one day, we now anticipate an oversupply of masks and an undersupply of lipstick. I don't know about you guys, but that's what I thought of this morning. In all seriousness, different sectors of the economy will come back online at different times and at different paces. And while the actual economy will likely change from week to week, reported data will lag the process. As a result, as the economy recovers, there will be data that come in below expectations and data that will come in above expectations. We saw that this week with the CPI and last week with the jobs report. Today's report on retail sales in April came in softer than most expected after a large increase last month. At moments like this, it is important to focus on trends and not month-to-month or week-to-week oscillations. In that vein, we know that the initial estimate for first quarter GDP was 6.4%, outpacing growth in the Eurozone, and employment has grown an average of 500,000 jobs per month since January. Even while the overall trend in the economy is positive, the administration is working to help displaced workers with their searches so that they can find good, suitable work. And as the president emphasized earlier this week, if offered a suitable job, a worker receiving unemployment benefits must take it. We're also emphasizing to employers that there are resources to help them hire workers part-time without those workers losing their unemployment benefits through short-time compensation. And we're reminding employers of the extension of the Employee Retention Tax Credit in the American Rescue Plan. While it is important we continue to support workers, families, and businesses until the virus is more robustly contained, we also recognize the imperative of supporting the healing of our labor market. In the meantime, we know that the mismatch between different parts of the economy will show up in unexpected ways until the economy more fully recovers. As such, as the president urged earlier this week, we must be patient. At the same time, we cannot forget that the longer-term structural problems our economy faces as well. The Council of Economic Advisors released an issue brief just yesterday on the economic framework underlying the American Jobs Plan and the American Families Plan. Addressing these structural issues is so important to ensuring a strong economic future for our country, and that's why I'm so incredibly proud to be a member of the American Families Plan Cabinet, which was the original reason for me to be here today. And so I am now happy to take a few questions.
All right, Nancy, kick us off.
Thank you so much, Cecilia. I hear what you're saying about the fact that the economic numbers are going to be kind of unpredictable right now, but what did you make of 2008?
Yes, I mean, that's obviously an important question, and it was interesting to me that even the Federal Reserve was a bit surprised by the jump. So we hadn't forecasted that. The forecasters hadn't expected that. But if you dig below the surface, what you see is, for example, 30% of that increase was in the used car sales market. And we know that there are supply chain issues there with the semiconductors. And markets, we know that rental car companies are buying, they have to replenish their stocks because they liquidated their stocks last year when people were not renting cars. We know that because of the American Rescue Plan, people were buying cars because many people were afraid of taking public transit, which is not good either. But instead of taking public transit, they wanted to buy more new cars. But with the shortage in the semiconductor supply chain, the supply just wasn't meeting demand. So that's where a big part of the jump was. Another part was in those sectors that were really hit by the virus. We saw some of them are starting to come back. The most vivid example that we found was in the airline industry, where we saw a 10% increase in their prices month to month. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I know lots of, okay, I'm working here, so I don't get time to do this, but other people I know are looking forward to taking time off this summer, and they're buying airplane tickets. So there was a 20% increase in airline tickets, but it's still a 10% increase in airline tickets, but it's still 20% below where it was before the pandemic. So those prices are increasing because we were at unusual lows because of the pandemic. They are rebounding as the economy starts to heal, but many of those sectors are actually not even back to where they were before. So we expect there's going to be a period as supply starts to equal demand and sectors are healing and recovering, that we're going to see some, there's going to be some choppiness.
But even if that's the case, at what point does concern about inflation become its own economic problem?
So, look, this is really the purview of the Federal Reserve, and we try to maintain their independence. But what economists worry about is when inflation becomes de-anchored. And so at the moment, it looks as though people fully expect this inflation to be temporary, where temporary is when the economy more fully recovers. But that we understand that they're not sort of structural factors that should lead to inflation that the Federal Reserve cannot control.
I was wondering if I could follow on that a little bit. There seems to be this assumption that we've heard from people within the administration that this inflation is temporary, that we'll get through the choppiness by the end of the year. And I'm wondering what you're seeing in the data that suggests that's true. Is it just sort of hopeful guesses based on coming out of the pandemic, or are you actually seeing something that doesn't lead to that worst case scenario?
So as I just gave an example, much of the increase last month was in airline prices. So airline prices ticked up because they had completely cratered last year this time. So there's been a robust increase month to month. So clearly the you know, but I think many people travel, and so, you know, let's take the car. So there's going to be this kind of misalignment, and you know, in the uncertainty about the recovery because our virus. But I'd like to remind you that only 58% of adults have had one shot, at least one shot. But if we actually drill down, if we're going to take the example of the labor market, only a quarter of those who are aged 18 to 29 are fully vaccinated, and only a third of those aged 30 to 39 are fully vaccinated. We are just not to the other side of this yet. Sincerely don't want to see our economy end up in a hyperinflation of some kind. And the nature of this economic recession. We are still 8 million jobs down from where we were. A long way to go.
Trevor?
So you talk the economy, you know, there's, I think others have talked about lumber and just kind of random